This episode of Made in America is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network, which has been bringing you the best in home-based innovation since 1998.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us for this episode of Made in America.
An episode of Made in America coming right up, and we love to tell the stories about people that are manufacturing or helping other inventors manufacture in America, because it's all about feet on the ground in America.
This segment is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpplawoffices.com.
Welcome, America. That's right. This is the Made in America show right here on the King's Broadcasting Network. I want to welcome all of you that's tuning in from the Invent America show with my co-hosts and partner in crime, the inventor lady herself, Rita Crompton. This is Made in America, where we discuss Made in America issues. Well, Rita, a lot going on. What can I say? The president has really demonstrated again and again his sole priority is to make America great again. And I tell you, I'm very impressed what's going on, and the investments that's made here in the United States, and factories opening up, communities starting to dust off and having a little life. So a lot going on, Rita. And why you think there has been a rejudification or reinvention of what the atmosphere, if we had to put a pulse on this right now? What do you think is it the people, the government, or the president? I mean, what do you think?
I think that there's a lot of things going on, and I think that there's really a lot of businesses out there that have been manufacturing. Heavens, I was part of the steel industry for 20 years. They were manufacturing here. All right, my husband was part of the paper industry. They were manufacturing here. And so it's taken its, the pendulum swings back and forth, as you see, now, there was less steel for a while. Things started coming back. We used to make cars here, and then they went overseas. And I think a lot of it was consumer based. The consumer wanted the cheapest price. Companies wanted the cheapest price. And then they started realizing, it took a few years, decades, realizing that cheaper is not better. We said in the last hour, it's like, they used to manufacture to last 4 decades. And then they went to the idea of, manufacturing for obsolescence. And now we're kind of getting back to that, manufacturing it for, so that it will last for decades. And, how many women would buy clothes made in China until they realized that, oh, yeah, they were 2 sizes too small, or they would shrink the first time you washed them. It's like, I'd rather pay $20 more and have it last me for, a few years. So I think we've learned some lessons. And now we're seeing companies, starting to come back. And so when we look at, sewing solutions for you, my guest today, when we're talking about these family stories about manufacturing in America, it's not that they haven't been there. It's that we haven't gotten digging around for them and say, let's focus on this now. And now we're more about focusing on Made in America. And I think it's awesome.
Well, I was trying to really find out what these corporate CEOs were really thinking about what was going to happen, because we had this conversation. Now, let's face it, me and you, Rita, we've been doing this a long time. We're entering our 29th year on the air here. And I can remember, let's go back 25 years when NAFTA was signed. And when China was allowed to come into the, the favored nation status under Clinton. I knew there was going to be a problem. And where it started is that I knew when we were working the trade shows, and China used to have maybe an aisle. You remember at the International Building Show, used to have an aisle.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they used to come in all the booths with the cameras and the pictures and taking pictures. And I was the first one that started the revolt here and say, "What are you doing?" Now, I lost a lot of sponsors. I lost a lot of, I became the black child of the industry because I was pointing out to them that why are y'all going to give China your technology? You think they're not going to copy it? And then all of a sudden, what happened? It went from 1 row to 2 rows to 3 rows. And you remember we had that discussion last year at the International Building Show. They owned half the building. China was half the building. It was all internet. It was all them. Yeah. And now it just got to the point where, we just lost our way. And I just cannot understand, and a lot of the CEOs are not even there anymore. They got fired. I mean, they just made horrible decisions. But what you think was going to happen? But now you have an administration that's in here that's telling, come back home. And if you don't come back home, then we're going to make through tariffs, we're going to make your product so expensive that you're not going to worry about coming home because you're going to I'm going to force you to start manufacturing here in the United States. So sometimes that's what it takes, Rita, just get hit on the head and say, you know what, if I want to come back to the United States, I better come back and manufacture here, or I'm going to have what he said this morning. I was watching 157% tariff on China if Xi don't come to the table in 2 weeks. You heard that? He just 157%. Go, man, go. Go, man, go.
When we're looking at the big picture, yes, I see the pendulum swinging, and thanks to somebody who really understands business as opposed to politics.
Yeah.
And I think that's the advantage that we have with President Trump, is that he understands business. He's not been a politician all of his life, and that makes a huge difference. And we did better when our politicians had been business people and had to run a business and balance a stinking budget, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
If you can't balance the budget, you go out of business, you lose your house. And when the government can't balance the budget, they should be thrown out of office.
Well, one common denominating question I always ask all our guests sometimes that manufacture, and we've had many U.S. manufacturers on the show, right? And the most common question I ask them now, how is your community thriving? What is happening to your infrastructure? What are you experiencing? And what is the common answer? Man, when we can manufacture, it's just a trickle down effect to the whole picture of our city's infrastructure, our government, our city, taxes, community, God, police, safety, because you can invest in your community, and now you have the dollars to invest in your community, where the quality of life is a lot better in a community that supports American manufacturing compared to certain, I ain't gonna mention certain cities that really are anti-American. And we saw it a couple of days ago, the anti-American with the thing all across the country.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about here?
I know.
I call it I hate America. I hate America.
And I look at really, I get to tell the stories of the things that are made in America and the companies that are manufacturing here. And I think that, as people start realizing there is manufacturing going on, and there has been, and they've got generations of stories about the ones that fought through it, and they changed, they made adjustments so that they could hang on to a market share. And I think that that's a big deal. And as we, show more and more to our consumers products that are being made here, they'll go look for them. It's like going and shopping at the Made in America store. All right. These things are all made in America. They have to prove it. And, there are other pavilions and other platforms that focus on Made in America. And so as we go out and we start featuring more and more of those and telling the stories, people are going to start understanding, you know what, it's coming back. It's always been here. It
Yeah.
was big. It got
Yeah.
littler, and then it's going to get bigger again. And so as we go through, telling the stories and
Yeah.
saying, go here. If you're manufacturing something, I'm going to send it to, Sewing Solutions for you. I'm going to look for somebody that can make it right here in America. So we're going to pay more attention to the companies that are making here, more attention to products that have stories behind them for generations.
But a couple of weeks ago, you talked about the false claims. You remember you talked about the false claims that were, companies that were hiding behind the Made in the U.S. logo. They actually wasn't even produced here in the United States. You remember that?
Yep, and the Made in America store, you've got to meet those qualifications before they will list you on their product. And in order to put Made in America on your packaging, you've got to meet certain qualifications. You can say assembled in America, but as the consumer now, when we can go and say, this is what you're looking for, then they can pay more attention to, the right slogan and the right rules for Made in America, because people cheat. They're going to cheat, and we want to help everyone understand kind of what those parameters are.
Tell us who our guest is. I know you got a great guest coming up. Who's our guest?
Well, Jeshaiah Eggers is the president and CEO of Sewing Solutions for You. You heard me mention the company a couple of times. So yay, Made in America. And he works a lot with Cody. So we're going to find out, what that story is and how they work together. I know that Kevin's got a platform. He carries a lot of Made in America products on there. So we might ask them that question. What does he look for in Made in America, and have him clarify some of that. So that's what's coming up.
I kind of got lost in time. How much time we have left here?
None.
None. Well, let's take a short break. We're going to be right back. This is Made in America. We'll be right back. This is the Made in America show, along with the Cajun contractor, Michael King. Don't forget to listen to Home Talk USA, Invent America, Made America, right here, each week, every week on the King's Broadcasting Network at hometalkusa.com. Rita, I tell you, I'm excited to have our next guest. But we have to read our sponsor, right?
We do, and our sponsor for this segment is Noah McNeely with Product Quick Start. He does help a lot of my inventors get from, that rough duct tape cardboard prototype to a manufacturer's prototype. And so we are very grateful to have Noah McNeely and Product Quick Start as our sponsor for this segment. My guest for this segment is Jeshaiah Eggers, and he is the CEO and I don't know, are you the founder of?
Yes, correct.
Excellent, excellent. So Sewing Solutions for You. So Jeshaiah, tell us what does the company do, and give us your story. That's what we're about here. We want to hear the story.
Okay. Yeah. So we operate as a contract sewing company along with a cut and sew manufacturing side as well. So the contract sewing, sometimes we do for a lot of the products we make, they are a manufacturing company that approached us that are looking for some of their products to be made. So they send us some of the stuff that they cut. So we offer just contract sewing for those products. And then the cut and sew would be more of your traditional, what people are looking for when they bring their products to market. They're looking for somebody to make them.
So when you say products, give us an idea of the range of different products.
Okay. Yeah, we make a lot of first responder gear. So they are different pouches, first aid kit type pouches. So they have different compartments to them. They vary in size. So they can be something that is a traditional carrying bag for a first responder, or is a small pouch, which is more of your accessory stuff that you would carry in the field. So we make a lot of those products, and then we make things such as aprons. We started making tote bags recently out of a canvas material. So That is a list of some items that we've done. But overall, we've done a lot of odds and ends stuff too. I've done things like laptop bags, placemats, you name it, we like to try it. So, there's a large list of things that we've done that we don't necessarily sell.
Okay, all right. So how have you how over the years, how have you seen things change?
Mhm. Yeah, we definitely get a lot more conversations. Um, and some of that process is obviously slow to evolve as far as transitioning products, but it's definitely brought um, more eyes to the manufacturing side of things here in America, because those conversations continue amongst people trying to get their products transitioned from overseas to here. But obviously, sometimes that process can be a little bit um, grueling, so to
Yeah.
speak.
So what was your inspiration to starting the company?
Yeah. So my inspiration started for the market of people that are in between. There's a lot of people with either inventors or companies that have product demands that aren't necessarily tens of thousands. Sometimes they're 500. It's still large enough demand that they can't manufacture it themselves. They need a company that can do that, but finding that isn't always necessarily easy. Manufacturing a lot of times is large scaled. So finding, somebody that can do that would definitely be the inspiration. It's the market that I attack, is that middle of the road, so to speak. I don't know if that's the proper wording for that.
Well, we look at, I help inventors and honestly, dealing with textiles has been one of the biggest challenges that I've had for them. Yeah, they can sit down at their dining room table and make their prototype. It's finding someone that we refer to as a short run. All right, something that's less than 2,000 units, we call a short run so that they can get product out there. They can start selling it, prove themselves in the marketplace. So then they can go after a licensing deal or the bigger run if they need to. But that short run is really critical to the stages of inventing and being able to get products out there. So I get to send them all to you now.
Well, we'd be certainly appreciative.
So when we look at, textiles, I've come into contact with one gentleman that wants to make something of a material, a textile that's got copper in it.
Mm.
So things have changed. I mean, 20 years ago, it's like, all right, that's something that you put in your plumbing situation, not necessarily something you put in your material. But we've learned that copper, all right, will fight germs. Who knew that before the pandemic? The technology was out there, but I don't know anybody that was really paying attention to it. So things change. And then, so when you find yourself changing kind of with technology, I would
Mm.
imagine that over the last few years, that's been, that's had some impact on what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Change is inevitable. So you have to be willing to adapt. And sometimes it takes just more searching on my end when it comes to some of the new items, especially in fabrics or textiles. You know, there's a lot of options out there. So just sourcing those sometimes is just extra effort on my end, so to
Yeah.
speak.
So how did you get connected with Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin and I met through LinkedIn. That would be definitely where our conversations began.
And so then, all right, so you met each other there. What do you do for each other? How are you connected?
Well, if I can break in here for a quick second, I think I could probably clarify that real quick. We have a couple different product categories at FLI Products that we sell today, and one of them is storage. And that's a category of product for us. So we have a couple different manufacturers, US manufacturers that we have in the storage category. And one of them, believe it or not, is a manufacturer called Rogers Manufacturing that makes milk crates. So I was looking for a solution because we had a presentation coming up with a major retailer, Walmart, and I was looking for a solution to be able to use the milk crate in a unique way. And we've had a long-standing relationship with Rogers Manufacturing, and they make two other products for us today, the Cordsafe and the Blade Guard. But they also make milk crates. And we said, how come you're not selling these milk crates at retail? Why are you only selling them to the milk industry? And they said, because that's the way we've always done it since 1896.
That's some longevity. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a great opportunity out here for additional product uses if we can figure out how to modify or adapt the product for those uses. And so one of them was delivering goods, right? When you go to Walmart, if you're a Walmart Plus customer, for instance, you would potentially order your product, order the things that you want to get ahead of time, go and pick it up at Walmart and bring it home. Well, the storage process and the ability to actually transport it safely could be a potential for a lot of people.
All right, we're going to be right back with that.
Yep.
But right now we've got to run and pay some bills. So we will come right back with our guests, Kevin Cody and Jeshaiah Eggers. Stick with us, everybody. And thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Made in America, because we love telling the stories of, the different companies, factories, products, and everything that you can go out and look for that are made in America. So my guests right now, Kevin Cody and Jeshaiah Eggers. Jeshaiah manufactures textile products, sewing solutions for you right here in, what state are you in?
We're in Ohio.
You're in Ohio. I was going to say Illinois. At least I was on the right side of the Mississippi. Maybe. Anyway, Kevin Cody, I know he just actually lives kind of right down the street from me. And we are east of the Mississippi. So we've had, some long history with manufacturing in America. Jeshaiah, remind everybody, what is it that Sewing Solutions for You does and how long have you been around?
Yeah, Sewing Solutions for You is a custom sewing, contract sewing, and cut and sew manufacturer. We've been around now. We're actually about 25 days out from our 2-year mark. And we are in southeastern Ohio and Logan, to be specific.
I know the first time I saw Logan, I was thinking Logan, Utah, and it's like, no, that is the wrong state when I saw the details. So, it's not like when you were in 4th and 5th grade and said, I think I'll grow up and start a manufacturing plant. How did you come up with this? What was your inspiration?
Yeah, so I got into textiles or product manufacturing with my previous employer. And we did a lot of manufacturing of fitness equipment, which revolved around fitness straps and carrying type pouch sleeves. They weren't real complex type of products. So that got me into the world of manufacturing and textile sewing. But then, my passion kind of grew from there as far as wanting to learn how to do other things besides cutting nylon webbing and sewing it together. There was a simplistic beauty of it. But the inspiration, for me was I wanted to try other products. The company I worked with, they wanted to stay with the same products they were making. They were, very content. So for me, it was a perfect time for me to break free and start trying to do some of those things.
Well, excellent. Kevin, you've been, kind of involved in our conversations with Made in America products, and you've got your own section of your website. Tell our listeners a little bit about your products that are made in America.
Yeah, so FLI Products, actually, we have close to 150 products, and about 50%, 80% of them are made in the USA.
Good for you.
So
Awesome.
it was a great segue in your previous conversations about the companies that are making product in the USA and continuing to make it just kind of quietly. And we've aligned ourselves with those companies in different ways to be able to manufacture product. Jeshaiah is one of them. And we appreciate the opportunity to be able to be involved in not only taking their existing products and growing with them, but creating new products and accessories around the company's capabilities as well.
So you're generally, when you're looking at bringing on a new product, what is it that you look for in determining whether or not you're going to carry a product or try to move a product?
Yeah, we have a couple anchor categories of product that we're in today: houseware, storage, electrical, and a little bit of outdoors. And we've created brands inside of those categories. And so we want to be able to create an anchor product for a brand and then build it out. And so in the case of Jeshaiah, the Crate Mate was a brand that we were building out, and we're making a presentation to Walmart and needed a way to create a carrying handle, some device other than just the handles on the crate, to be able to transport it from car to inside, or from car to your grill, or in outdoors. Believe it or not, kayak fishermen use milk crates, right? So they need to figure out a way to get it from one place to another, and oftentimes have other things in their hands and can't use both hands on a crate. Here came Jeshaiah with the capabilities of being able to make it. We wanted to find out if we could do that with him. And for that reason, we looked at his scope of business. We looked at his fit and capabilities and manufacturing capacity. And we said, yeah, this could be a good fit.
So Josiah, how do you grow? How do you get the word out so more people know to contact you and ask you to do their manufacturing?
Yeah, so we do a lot of marketing on LinkedIn. That's it's a big one for me. I'm a big part of our labor force because we are small. So I'm sewing every day. So that's a big part for me. Then locally, I definitely connect with several other businesses here that are within the same county that definitely know about us, and we make a few things for them to carry. That there's small amounts of things, but obviously that helps grow, at least at a local level. And then otherwise, we do a lot of marketing online.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to, people don't know you're there if
Yeah.
you don't get the word out. And I know that that's the same thing that, so many of, our guests run into, is that, we've got to be able to, tell them that they're there, and get the word out, and do what we can to help tell the story about people that are, making products and what is made. So Kevin, what do you do? Not in products, but what do you do as far as the marketing? What is your marketing savvy?
So we talked about this in the previous segment, the 4 Ps. We just help small manufacturers, kind of like Josiah and the Rogers Manufacturing Company, look at their capabilities and then build products around them and help them introduce and launch products. And we do that primarily through our relationships at retail and in e-commerce. We do it by developing strategies from pricing, promotion, packaging, and everything else, and then bringing those products to market as well.
So I know, things have certainly changed over the last 30 years as far as, what we grew up with and then what we saw as marketing, just went from, I mean, honestly, Kevin, when we were growing up, there was no such thing as e-commerce,
No,
you know,
no, absolutely not.
and, so then you go from the idea, it's like, what is this Amazon thing? And to the point where it's like, my husband would say, I really don't like the idea of buying on Amazon. I think it's terrible. We should go to the local retailers. And it's like, okay, we live in Eastern Tennessee now. The closest store is 30 minutes away. So if you want to go and hunt, by all means, go and hunt, because I kind of like Amazon now. And so, but we've learned to look at different things. How does someone, and I promise I won't tell anybody the secrets you're going to share with me. How do you look through stuff on an e-commerce site and not get junk?
That's a really good question. Obviously,
Don't mean to put you on the spot there, but.
well, you have to do your homework, and the ability of a company like Jeshaiah's, for instance, to be on Google, for instance, and have 4 or 5 stars on Google is, your first credible source of research. And then looking at the reviews and looking at a specific product that they make that might be important to you, and looking at the reviews and their capabilities and seeing how that works. And then obviously going on to look at your keywords. What do you type? What do you imagine? How do you think about a particular product in a way that makes you be able to keyword it on your laptop or your phone, and knowing the different mediums of how people are going to shop for your product is really important. And so looking at those things and knowing exactly how you can communicate your message and the things that you have to do to get it there is really important.
Well, I agree. That's after, we bought the house and we were buying things, and I learned, you look at those reviews, and you 5 reviews doesn't count. I want 500 reviews. And then I want to go and read all the ones that put down 1 star.
Yep.
And
You
I've
want to
become
know,
much more.
you want to look at those 1 stars too, because some of
That's
them
right.
are fake.
Well, some of the 1 stars are, but you want, you at least want a reasonable feedback on, anybody can do 5 stars and say how wonderful it is, but those aren't real either. So, I want a better idea of, how something is going to work. And they've started adding this return frequently. Well, then I don't want it.
Right. Yeah.
So, and if I can't just walk down and hand it off and return it, it's like, cannot be returned, without paying freight. Well, 3 months on a boat back to China is not exactly, it's cheaper to go buy a new one than it is to do that. So,
Right.
we are going to be right back, everybody, with another segment of Made in America. And it's so much fun to tell the stories about making in America and buying American-made products. So stick with us, everybody. We will be right back. We are going to go and pay some bills.
If you're an inventor, or an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free. inventorsroundtable.org.
Thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Made in America. And you know what, America? I am so proud of you for going out and looking for those tags that say Made in America. You will get a better product every single time. So my guests right now are Cody with FLI Products and Jeshaiah Eggers with Sewing Solutions for You. Jeshaiah is a manufacturer in Ohio, and he will take on short runs for inventors or people that have got a short order. And also, I would imagine, Jeshaiah, you will do the thousands if you are asked, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, obviously, with some of those, that would definitely be the goal for us. If it can grow, we'll grow with it, so to speak, or just acquire it if that's all it requires also. But yeah, that's definitely where we would like to take products.
So where do you see your business, the manufacturing plant, growing too, having different plants in different states, or just, you add to yours as you're needed? What do you see in fantasy land, Jeshaiah? Where are you?
Yeah, I would like to grow where I am, so to speak, for at least for now. That's definitely the realm of thinking. So we would like to just grow here, and then continue to add more products with more companies as time goes on, and kind of see just where that takes us.
So, well, we wish you the best, and we will do what we can to help get that word out about the company. Kevin, how about you? Where do you live in Fantasyland? My husband always teases me about that. He goes, "You're living in Fantasyland." It's like, I like it in Fantasyland. There are some times when you see good future projections out there. So, share with our listeners, where is your Fantasyland?
Our goal is to make sure that we are capable of fulfilling our customers' needs every day on a timely basis, 100% of the time. And we take pride in being able to ship 100% of our orders in 24 hours, 100% complete. And I think that's what people recognize us for. And when we do that, we certainly build credibility in our reviews. We build credibility in our capabilities. And we have a direct-to-consumer side of the business, and then we have the retail and e-commerce side of the business. And that direct-to-consumer side of the business is becoming more and more visible to a lot of people. Certainly AI and Chat GPT and Grok and all the other big players in that LLM world are creating opportunities for smaller companies like us to compete with the big guys. And being able to adapt to that technology and create opportunities through it to drive people to your website. A guy like Jeshaiah can now compete with some major companies. And so can we through the accessibility and the fit that we have with Jeshaiah, as well as with our other manufacturers, injection mold manufacturers and sewing companies and a variety of others.
Well, I think it's really interesting that technology in that e-commerce, that AI world is changing so fast. And, you can either change with it, or it will swallow you and eat you whole. And you disappear, basically. So when we're looking at then, the different things as they're changing, it's interesting when you say, okay, I can do this. I can learn a new trick. They always say, old dogs can't learn new tricks. Well, I'm going to bark the difference on that, because yes, I can learn new tricks.
Yeah.
And we have to, and it's really it's amazing when you say, "Oh my God, I learned how to do this." It's great, and we can. And as the technology changes and the e-commerce changes and the technology changes, we can change along with it.
Yeah, if you don't learn every day, you just become stagnant, and eventually you will be replaced. And so this is giving opportunity to those people who are willing to adapt and willing to learn and willing to continue to pursue their dream, an opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. I always say it's like change is coming.
Yep.
It's going to happen. And, the next storm is on the horizon, the next sunrise is on the horizon, and you can go with it and change along with it and learn new things and embrace it, or you get left in the dust.
Yep. The AI part of this is becoming really, really critical across several disciplines in the business, product development being one of them, and the ability to understand who your customers are and reach them in unique ways is another part of it as well.
Absolutely. And Jeshaiah, you're a perfect example of this. When you were talking about the company you worked for, you said they didn't want to try the new things, and I did. So I left and I did it myself. Me do my own self, as my grandsons would tell me.
Yeah, exactly. Change is good. It's a challenge, but I find it rewarding all the same. So for me, I accept it,
Well, we are so glad that you accepted it. And everyone, thank you so much for being with us today for this episode of Made in America. And we will be back next week with more about the policies of manufacturing in this wonderful country. So join us again next week.